everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Jamie University. It is Valentine's Day, a day of love, Jamie. It is a day of love, February 14th, 2023. And we are here to talk about Notre Dame shooting itself in the foot, a big unforced error on their part. Not wanting to pay the buyout for Andy Ludwig, who was offered the job. The OC at Utah will remain the OC at Utah. He was offered the job by Marcus Freeman over the weekend, and all signs were trending toward him accepting the job and bringing in his offensive line coach as well, Jim Harding, to come with him to replace Harry Hiestand. And word came from the Pete Thamel, the Thamel bomb came, and the Notre Dame doesn't want to pay the buyout. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where Notre Dame goes from here, where we think they should go from here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Harry Hiestand stuff. We're going to talk about all those things. One thing I will do is I will direct everyone to Power Hour on Apple Pods. Jamie and Mike Frank, they held their normal podcast today to figure out what was going on with the situation. So they recorded today. So a lot of their thoughts are there. So I would direct people to that. And so right now, Jamie, we're going to get into it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Joe Bro says, hit the like because you may be in a bad mood. And one thing you can do on this Valentine's Day is you don't want to give love to Notre Dame. Give love to the podcast. How about that? Give love to the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. So you know when we're going live and that sort of thing. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you. Take your frustrations out. Yeah, S. Gomez. Take your frustration on the like and subscribe buttons. All right, Jamie. Let's get into this. I haven't talked about it. I almost went live last night at like 8 p.m. Pacific. And I told Matt, and I texted Matt. I was like, hey, can I go live right now? And he's like, if you want, And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait. It's one of those things like the show would have done.
Better to sleep on it.
Yeah, the show would have done numbers, but I was like, what am I going to say other than just emoting? And I wanted more information, and I wanted to kind of settle down a little bit because I just felt like it wouldn't have been a good, I don't know. I might have said something that I regret later. And why do that? Right, Jamie? Why do that? There's no need for that.
Exactly.
So I've slept on it and all those things, and I've thought about it. And I think, a lot of what I've heard today is, people saying things like it's a bad look for Notre Dame. And it is. That's true. Well, first of all, before I get Zach Davis, I legitimately was looking forward to a Greg live stream at midnight. That's funny. Maybe next time I will. I don't know. Maybe next time I will. So a lot of people are saying it's a bad look for Notre Dame, and it is, right? The optics are bad and all those other things. It's not like that's not true. But the focus is kind of on the national optics of it. And to me, it's a bad look for the people inside your program. The coaches, Marcus Freeman, the players, even, right? Notre Dame.
Well, it's not for them, on them.
Not on them, but what I'm saying, and I'll explain it in a second, is you lost Brian Kelly to LSU. And a lot of those quotes were like, hey, I want to go to a place that will give me the things that I need to win a title, alignment and all those other things, right? He's talking about resources, the Goog, money into whatever. And at the time it was like, look, you're making excuses for the fact that you didn't want to try hard, right? That's what people said. You're making excuses, right? And so they get Marcus Freeman. Then Tommy Rees leaves. Go to Alabama. And everyone says, well, you have to do it, right? Because it's Alabama. And the implication, it's a step above, right? You're not forefront in the NIL game. You're not forefront. The Goog still is not the Goog. There's nothing there, right? Like that's still a problem. Like your shoe deal is, no one likes Under Armour, right? We've talked about it a bunch. That doesn't move the needle. Like your Notre Dame is seen as basically an unserious program. just kind of that's the like they're a serious program, but there's programs above them, like the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the Georgias and the USCs and all that other stuff, right? They're willing to do everything possible to get the edge. Whatever you got to do, they'll do it. And Notre Dame is seen as a program that doesn't do that. So what is the look now then? Right? And you look at your players, the players that they have to wake up every single day and they're doing Matt Bayless's workout. And it's like, we're going to kill you. Like, we are going to work you, because that is what our program is. We will do everything we can to prepare your body, to get you ready to go, and all that other stuff. And that's what they're asking of the players, right? Sacrifice. They're all taking a bath on guaranteed money, right? No, none of them are taking guaranteed money. That's not how Notre Dame operates, right? And Notre Dame asks them, like, to take that sacrifice, and they do. So here they are. They wake up. They think they have a coordinator. They think everything's ready to go. And they wake up and read that Notre Dame doesn't want to pay the buyout. What message does that send to them, to the coaches, to Marcus Freeman? You know, and I'm going to quote the lovely Jackie Hamilton, who I have seen on her Twitter a number of times. Everything communicates. What is Notre Dame communicating right now? What are they communicating to Marcus Freeman? What are they communicating to their players? What are they communicating to their fans? What are they communicating to all of the future coaches that might consider Notre Dame, that Marcus Freeman is going to call? What are they communicating there? What are they communicating to all the prospective recruits that Notre Dame is going to go after, that Marcus Freeman is going to try to convince that Notre Dame is the place to come win a national title and be the best that you can be? What are they communicating? They're communicating, no, we won't do everything we can, because we had the chance to get the guy that our coach wanted, and they passed. They said, no, we don't want to pay it. We don't want to pay it. It's too much. It's an exorbitant amount. It's not a good deal for us, and we're not doing that. That's what they're communicating. That's what it is, right? That's what's out there. It was out there, and every tweet that you saw from every national person was saying, "Well, Notre Dame's not going to pay this. Like, really? Like, Notre Dame's not paying for the guy that they want." And so that's where it is. I'll let you respond to that, and then we'll move on to some other things.
Well, I think really, like, the main thing is, I mean, that part is a bad look in terms of, like, that is a perception thing, and it's way more of, like, Notre Dame fans are into that part of it. And those, these national rhetoric, like, I'm sorry, like, no disrespect to Bill Connolly or Stuart Mandel, but, like, who cares what they think about 2.8, whatever. It's like, they're not, Alabama's not paying $2.8 million for Tommy Rees. You know what I mean? That's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that the administration turned it into a clown show, because they basically made it seem like this is the guy. They brought him to a hockey game.
Right.
It's very public. It was like a very public thing. It wasn't just Freeman and Parker who were sitting with them. Jack Swarbrick was up there, like, there as well. Like, other people in the administration were there, and that. So it was like basically a done deal at that point. They just didn't bother to, check the fine print that they needed to do that. And really what you're saying, like, what a other program would have done, they would have gone to a donor, and Mike said this on Power. They would have gone to a donor and just said, pay this. Just can you handle this? And they would have done it, and they could have done it quietly and just done it, but they decided not to. And that part is not good. The worst part is there's incompetence on the part of the administration who make the coach and the program look bad. Right. That's the worst part about it. You can't celebrate. You can't go and promote that you are going to give. You're going to match. Tom Rees isn't leaving because of money.
Right, we'll match. We'll match anything. They leak it. They leaked it to Hansen. We'll match anything.
You can't promote that. You can't promote that and leak that out, and they 100% leak that out, and then come back and screw this up, and then not pay that. Then you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't go and celebrate what a great thing it was that Tommy Rees stayed here and we're doing all this stuff to win. He's staying here. We're bringing all these things and all this is so good with Mark Freeman. And then this happened, and I think I don't think it's crazy to say this is like one of the more embarrassing things for Notre Dame in terms of coaching things and like names and guys who maybe didn't turn around. I mean, the worst part about it is that Ludwig wanted the job, he said yes, and Harding was going to come too. That's why there was no offensive line lists coming out, because he was going to take the job. That's the worst part, is that these guys wanted to come here. They thought it was an attractive job. They were going to be happy with the pay and all that kind of stuff, that part about it. But the administration screwed it up because they didn't check it. So, in other words, if they weren't going to pay it, they shouldn't have offered him in the first place. Yeah. And that's not Marcus Freeman's fault. That's 100% on the money people behind it, the administration. So, with all that being said, so back to the kind of like the embarrassing thing. This is, I mean, it's not quite George O'Leary. It's not quite. That was a lot more embarrassing. But the main thing with that George O'Leary thing was they completely blew it by hiring Tyrone Willingham right after.
Right.
That's what
they compounded the problem.
Yes. That's what made it so much worse.
I honestly, I think this is worse than the O'Leary thing. Honestly,
it's not. It's just there's social.
I feel like
if the social media was out that time, this would have been way worse. In
the reason is because they didn't do the background check piece, right? And that's a mistake, But that's like, we messed up the background check, and that's an error on their part, but it's not an intention issue, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a choice that they're making.
The latter part is a choice, yeah.
Yeah, they're choosing not to do it, right? The other part, like the O'Leary thing, is like, hey, the guy fudged his resume and we didn't check, right? Like that's a clerical mistake, right? That's a vetting mistake, but it's not like, it doesn't affect the way.
Pretty bad when you're Notre Dame.
No, it's not good. I'm saying of the two bad things, I think this is worse because Notre Dame is choosing this. That's what I'm saying. It's unforced. This is their own decision. They could have, if someone just said, fine, we'll call a donor, like you said, and pay it. There's no issue. There's nothing. You have your OC, you have your online coach. We're having a completely different podcast today. We're talking about how we watched the Utah. We watched 50 games of Utah from the last 3 years, and this is why we think it could work, right? Which we did. Jamie, you and I, we watched so many offensive plays from Utah over the weekend, and I'm very mad that I can't talk about them. And the other problem is that I think people who have watched the show, Andy Ludwig was not our first choice. That's the other thing. We wanted someone who had a history of developing quarterbacks and a history of explosive passing offense. And Andy Ludwig did not carry any of those things. He did not, right? And we said
he is a good quarterback developer, and his quarterbacks have played well. So I will say
like,
no, not but it's a thing.
No, but who got drafted? Who got drafted?
It doesn't matter. His guys played good in college.
Okay.
That's not what it's about. He's getting 3-star guys, and they're. I
don't want to argue about it because he's not going to be the coach. He's not going to be the coach.
No, but you can't just make definitive statements that are untrue. So
I don't want to defend it because he's not coming. The point is that we at the beginning of the process, he was not our favorite. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, he was not my favorite, not at all.
So the point is that, and I said we have to have humility about this because it's not our decision. It's Marcus Freeman's decision. Doesn't matter who I want. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who Jamie wants. Marcus Freeman makes the decision. And so then we go evaluate the person and we say, this is how he can fit. He would have fit, like you said, we said privately, he would have fit really good within what Notre Dame has and the pieces they have. That he would have been a good fit, right? And not my favorite guy, but, it's Marcus Freeman's guy. And Marcus Freeman didn't get to pick his guy last year. He didn't. I don't want to say Tommy Rees was forced on him because he wouldn't have been the head coach if if Tommy Rees wasn't the OC. Jack Swarbrick said pretty much that, right? They hired Rees first. They wanted to keep everyone together. Marcus Freeman didn't get to choose.
Well, that was a mistake.
Well, it's right.
You don't hire the offensive coordinator first.
Right. That was a mistake. But then you wouldn't have hired Marcus Freeman. Right. The point is that he didn't get to choose. And now Rees left. He gets to choose. He should get to decide how my future is going to go. My future is going to go a certain kind of way. This is who I'm choosing. Right. It should be on him. He's the head coach. He's the head coach. It's his decision. And the fact that you're not letting him choose his guy, that someone else is saying, no, you can't have your guy for reasons that are financial. That's bad. It's bad. It's bad process. It's bad, like everything. And I know we are blaming Swarbrick for it because he's the AD and all those other things. I'm not going in on him because I don't know who the decision.
You don't have to go in on him. But there's somebody who works for him.
There's somebody who works for him.
There's somebody who works for him who is supposed to look at the buyout and figure it out.
No, but I'm saying if Swarbrick said, I can convince someone to do this. If he told Marcus, like, hey, the money won't be an issue. And then the person above Swarbrick said, no, actually, the money is an issue. Okay. Then I don't know where Swarbrick goes with that. Right. That's all I'm saying. I don't know who the ultimate decision maker was. So it's like, I don't want to absolve Swarbrick or anything. And I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, I don't know. So there's that. I do want to float, I guess, a theory. So I had a lot of time to think about this. So a lot of people are commenting on it doesn't make sense, right? And you just said it. Like, you brought him in, Swarbrick's there. He's at the hockey game. You know what the buyout is. You know what these other things are, right? They know all the situation. I'm not saying I've heard this. It's not likely. It's just something I was thinking about.
Oh God, what is this?
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay, so Jamie. So my daughter this year, right? She moved to club soccer, our oldest. She moved to club soccer. And she could have been on like a travel team for ASO. Or she could have done club soccer, right? We tried out for club. We know club's expensive, right? She makes the club team. So we told her, like, hey, if you're going to play club, you got to this is serious now. Okay. It's games like every weekend. It's practices year round, right? There's not a lot of breaks and stuff. It's a serious commitment, right? And it's a serious financial commitment, which we will pay. No problem. But you got to be really into it. Okay. She decided she wanted to. And so we paid it, right? Is it possible that they went to the Jenkins or whoever and Jenkins was like, this buyout's a lot. And for the O-line coach, like, that's a lot. We usually don't pay this. Okay. That's usually not it. And Jenkins said to Freeman, like, hey, you got to look me in the eye and tell me that this guy is the difference between you winning a national title and not. Is it possible that Marcus was like, I can't say that, right? Is that possible? I don't think that's what happened, but is it possible that Freeman was just like, I don't know if he's that guy. Like, I can't promise you that.
I guess it's possible, but I mean, I don't know. I just think that's just not – that's possible. But I think the focus being on the them not paying the money is not the biggest problem. It's the dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's the dysfunction. It's the dysfunction and making your head coach, making the program look bad. And – like, just do your job. Do your job. Do your job. Do it properly. And then it doesn't have to ever come to a conversation like that. and because where it's a thing. And if you say go out and hire whoever you want, money's not an issue, then let it not be an issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't know, like and it's stupid because I see someone, Sean here saying that Brian Kelly is right concerning the misalignment with the administration and staff. I mean, he was probably right, yeah, but that also he used that as an excuse, and now that excuse looks valid is the problem. And that's why you paint a picture of the program like that, and that's why a mistake like this makes it even worse, because then you just make it seem like, oh yeah, I mean, Kelly was right the whole time, when I mean, people who follow the program know the reality of it. But I mean, this will be the thing. Like, I mean, this will be, as Notre Dame gets mentioned, that's why how they respond to it is going to matter, right? Because it's not like they have to go out and they need to do this and then they need to go out and buy the most expensive offensive coordinator after. They don't have to. They have to get the right guy.
Yeah.
But if they go and get somebody who's not like not gonna, who you get on the cheap, right? Who might be a good guy, but you get on the cheap, the story is going to be how they didn't want to pay. That's what the story will be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to keep going unless that guy ends up being a home run. Right. And the only way you know that is till when they start playing games. But any kind of things, that's why too, if they're looking to hire, you're saying that, okay, it's not a money thing, whatever. It wasn't a money thing with Rees, whatever. This is different. This is whatever. Obviously, you could see a logistical side of them not wanting to pay the close to 4 million buyout for the two coaches.
Yeah.
But then if that's not a thing, then go out and spend and hire more personnel people, hire a GM, hire more people to help the program, like spend more money, hire more analysts, spend more money there. And then you could say, okay, well, that's how you start winning people back. And even though maybe that doesn't get on Stuart Mandel's, and who gives a crap about what Stuart Mandel thinks, but I'm just saying, like, that might not get on their radar, but that'll matter, or it should matter to people who are fans, the people that want to like pay money to subscribe to these websites, that go to these games, that buy ND gear, that do all this stuff, that like literally like, have their weekends in the fall revolve around Notre Dame football. Well, show that you care about it and invest in it.
Show that you care to the coach.
Yeah.
To your coach. And the sad thing is, Jamie, is that Marcus Freeman believed in Notre Dame. He bypassed LSU. He could have gone to LSU for more money. And that was the other part. That in itself was kind of a red flag. Like he chose to go to Notre Dame and took less money. Like LSU offered more money than them. Like they did. But Marcus Freeman said, I believe in going to Notre Dame. Like that's what I want to do. And he did. And he got repaid by them not showing the faith in giving him what he wanted for the guy that he wanted. It's that to me is such it stinks for Freeman. Like it really does. Because he's the one who it's like with BK, like you just said, right? He said, oh, the alignment and all that other stuff, they didn't want to give it to me. And he's right about that. But BK didn't do everything that he could do to make the situation work. Freeman, for all we know, does. By all accounts, he absolutely does. Like he is never not trying to make the program better.
Yeah.
And this is how it went for him. And so that's a bummer. So we've had a couple questions, and I want to get into it.
Joe, bro, what is the operating? I mean, that is like a way too big, and no one you would ask on a YouTube budget show would know what the operating budget for Notre Dame is.
And not just that, it shouldn't even exist. Honestly, like you do what you
Well,
have
you
to
have
do.
to have a budget, whatever.
Well, I know, but like it shouldn't be a fixed number. Like you do what you have to do. It's like you said, like they can just raise it. Just raise it. You know what I'm saying? Like just raise the money. Do what you have to do.
Well, now
Like,
is the time to raise it, and then
right.
you adjust whatever. Like, and I don't know. Yeah. We don't need to
Matt
get
wants
into
us to talk about 2024 O-line and
Yeah,
Brandon
yeah.
Baker, which would be unfair to Brandon Baker. He was offered today, by the way. Modern day kid. All right. So someone asked about let me find it now. I'm gonna have to go back. Okay, Zach Davis. Is there still a hire out there that would make this feel better? So let's talk about where Notre Dame can go from here, right? And I want to throw this to you because I feel like within the pool that Notre Dame's been looking at, it's all been OC quarterback coach guys, right? We've talked about this a little before, where it's like there's a whole pool of OCs who call plays who aren't quarterback guys, who are O-line guys. Do you think Notre Dame should dip into that pool?
I think they could. I don't think that it's like not nearly as deep as it's a shallow pool, right? There's not a lot of guys out there that are O-line guys and can coach O-line and coach and be play callers or that are play callers.
Yeah.
So like, Andy Kolnicki's the guy that I highlighted way back when Reese first left, and he's an O-line guy, is at Kansas. They went from like 90 something to like 10th in OF plus, the combined FEI and SP plus rankings. Their offense was explosive, right? Like it was an explosive offense. Yeah, I mean that would be certainly, that's a guy who sticks out. The Baylor guy, Jeff Grimes, he's a guy who's coached tight ends right now, but he has coached O-line. He's done a pretty good job. Baylor was the OC at BYU previously, back when Zach Wilson was there, when they had that like really, really good offense there too. So maybe he's someone, but I mean, I don't think there's too many guys like that. They would be kind of like top of the list guys. I don't know. I mean, and I honestly, I have no idea if that's the way they want to go. I would guess they still probably want to get a quarterback guy. And I don't know. I don't know if they, I don't know. It kind of opens it all up now to see where they want to go. I think it's kind of like too early to like, I thought about like, okay, putting out like a new list, but I'm like, I really have no idea where they would go from here. It's, I don't know. I think, and also too, now you have to be wary of like, there will probably be people like, not like vultures swooping around, but there'll be like people who are like, oh, this is like, they're desperate now. Maybe now I can get a shot at this job, because it's still an attractive job. Like it's still a very attractive job. You're going to get paid a lot. You got good talent to work with. So, I mean, I guess we'll see, but I would be wary of if you hear any names in the next day or something like that, I'd be wary of hearing that. Like, I don't think there's substance to that right now.
So, ND fan 0687 says, didn't the Kansas OC recently sign a 5-year deal? I bet that buyout will make Swarbrick pucker. He did. And the buyout,
then that's probably takes him off the table.
Right. The only thing I would say to that, is you may not have to have an O-line coach then. So it's like maybe the combo was too much. I don't know how that works. Yeah. Here's the other thing with the OC guys, the O-line OCs, is that pretty much all of them, if not all of them, the head coach is an offense guy that can work with quarterbacks, right? So you don't have to hire someone separate, right? So like Leopold, right? Like he's
5-year deal for an OC is a long deal too.
It is, by the way. It is. So like typical. Leopold, like that's offense guy, right? Like all of the O-line, like Norvell at Florida State, offense guy. Sharon Moore at Michigan, offense guy, right? Like, or Harbaugh's an offense guy, quarterback guy, right? So that's the problem, is like you need to hire a quarterback coach then to work with the quarterbacks, because Freeman's not going to do that. That's the main issue. And even without Heastan being around, there's just, that's the problem, right? When you have a defensive minded head coach. Speaking of the Heastan thing, I just want to kind of talk about that a second. I mean, I think you guys reported on Power Hour like this was a Tommy Rees thing. Like he was going to work with Tommy Rees, and if it wasn't Tommy Rees, then he wasn't going to work at Notre Dame. And was that a mistake by Marcus Freeman last cycle? Because it was pretty clear to us, like Tommy Rees wants to move on, right? He wants to move up, I should say, at least. And so you're bringing in a guy who's tied to Rees. You're going to have to bring in someone again. It just seemed like maybe that wasn't as thought out. And I'm trying to remember the timing of it. He might have been in the initial hiring period, like the first couple weeks of Freeman being hired. And at that point, Freeman was probably drinking water through a fire hose. So it's like, maybe it was like, you know what, like Harry Heastan, kind of a slam dunk. Tommy Rees likes him, all these other things. And at the time, Tommy Rees was like all in Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame and all that other things. He hadn't interviewed with Miami yet. So, but like, you got to look at that as like Marcus Freeman. If he had to go back, he would have done something different, right?
Probably, but maybe if you don't hire Heastan, maybe Rees takes that Miami job, and then you're going.
I mean, that might have worked out better.
So it might have, but it like, I don't know. And then you bring in another OC after the fact, and then he doesn't like that O-line. Like it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to have like Harry Heastan for a year. He's a pretty good offensive line coach. And it would have worked out fine if they would have figured out that thing, because they would have got a pretty good duo there, right? Yeah. So now this is the other thing is that, I mean, obviously they're going to get the OC first, but then, you maybe want to look at if there's like another duo or if there's some other kind of thing there. Now they have to look at, basically like a whole new list of guys. There's a lot of good offensive line coaches out there that they can look at, but I don't know. Like, I do think like, it wasn't a good, I mean, in hindsight, they could have changed that thing with Heastan, but like, he was basically his only guy that he got to bring on.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, he was part of the process with the other interviews, but like, those weren't his choices, Heastan was definitely his choice.
Yeah. Crazy boy. Do we know what Rees is making at Bama or what the offer was that Notre Dame was willing to match? I mean, here's the thing. Notre Dame said they would match anything because they knew it wasn't about the money. Rees wasn't leaving for the money. It was, I mean, if anything, it was comparable. I mean, I'm sure Bama gave him a little bit of raise just because that's the cost of doing business. But Rees was going regardless of what the money was. Notre Dame paid him really well.
Yeah.
So and it's very self-serving to be like, oh, it's not about the money. Like you don't have to pay it, right? Rees is going to Alabama regardless of what you're paying. So it's not about matching. If anything, they could have said, we'll pay you $1 million more than what Bama is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to throw around money that way. We'll pay whatever Bama's offering, we'll pay you $1 million more. You might have kept him then, but they didn't do that, right? Because they knew they didn't need to. Rees was leaving. That's how I see it. I did not think it was ever really about money with Rees leaving.
No, I mean, it wasn't a money problem. If it was about money, he wouldn't have interviewed for the Miami thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Rees wanted to move on. That's just, it was pretty clear there. So I guess a question that I have then is, do you feel like an offensive coordinator sees this happen? Like one you would want, right? Like you said, a vultures, right? Like who come out and be like, oh, maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring. Like Byron Leftwich might be calling right now and being like, hey, so like, you want to give me another look, right? He might be doing that, but like someone who's legit, who you might be looking at, like, do they look at the dysfunction, we'll call it, And does that give them a little bit of pause to say, I don't know, like that doesn't seem like they really have their stuff
I don't
together.
think so. Because it's pretty simple. You could just like blame it on, you're like, this is the guy who screwed up, whatever, right? He didn't check the buyout. And most schools, this is the thing. I don't care. Everyone says like, yeah, these guys wouldn't, like, I don't even know if Auburn might be the only school dumb enough to just straight up pay that without it. Like Notre Dame might have paid it, or some other schools would have paid it, but they would have kept that quiet. They would, like, because they were like, they don't want that to be a precedent, that they're doing that. So I think, like, I still think that people want the job. Maybe there'll be some people, because there's always some people like, I wasn't the first choice or whatever, right? But like, I mean, who cares? Like, Pete Carroll wasn't the first choice at USC. Worked out pretty good. Like, there's a lot of guys who aren't the first choice and end up working out pretty good. I mean, Tommy Rees wasn't the first choice at Alabama, right? He was like the third or fourth choice, right? So like, it just, it's one of these things. It's like, yeah, I guess if people, their ego is that big that they don't, like, care about being the first choice or whatever, or if maybe they think that, like, oh, if they heard rumblings like, oh, I mean, Freeman's looking for a way out, but I'm like, that's the other thing. People are like, I saw somebody, Freeman should just resign. Like, what? No, like, that would be the dumbest thing to do. Like, no, like, even the only thing you have to worry about is if Freeman does so good and then they don't, they don't up the ante, then you're like, well, then he's gone. He'll just leave again, and it'll be a Kelly situation again, right? But right now, the other thing is, like, people, like, they like money, they like raises, they like all that kind of stuff. I think and they like having a chance to maybe go to the college football playoff. They like that kind of stuff. So I still think it's an attractive position.
Yeah, I mean, you have it's a good situation, right? Like, all the things that we thought were good for Ludwig or whoever, right? I mean, whoever comes in, like, it's a good situation. You have Sam Hartman, you have a good offensive line, you have good running backs. We think they have good receivers, I mean, okay. So a lot of people are, I guess, talking about Jared Parker today. I think it's just because it's easy to do, right? He's on the staff. We know Marcus Freeman likes him. He has called plays before, right? There is an internal hire possibility. Do you think? I don't. I really don't have a desire to go back and watch like 20 whatever.
I'm not
West
watching
Virginia
any
film.
of that.
I'm not watching West
and
Virginia
I don't think
film.
he called plays for him. So like,
right.
I'm not going to go watch back Purdue back in the day when he
I'm not
called
watching
plays.
Purdue. I'm definitely not watching Purdue tape.
It's just, the whole thing is, if Gerard Parker gets hired, it's a completely unproven in terms of what he's done. It's not to say that it won't work out, because it could work out. He might actually be. I mean, it happens a lot. People get hired into bad situations and they don't get the kind of right opportunities, and then they get in the right opportunity and then they thrive. It happens a lot.
Here's a question. What does working out for Jared Parker mean? Like, what do you mean by working out? Like I guess I'm asking the ceiling.
Like, what is, well, I mean, working out at West Virginia would have meant that, like, he did really well there and
no, I'm saying at Notre Dame.
At Notre Dame?
With this team.
I think, like, they have like a top 15 offense, right? They have like a top 15 offense. They're better than they were under Tommy Rees, right? That's what I think what working out is. Or if he's the same as Tommy Rees, that's still working out for him, but it's not maybe working out for Notre Dame. But still, like, then you would say, like, Parker did I think most people, well, a good amount of people think that Tommy Rees did a good job overall. So if he did the same job Tommy Rees did, I think most people would be like, yeah, he did a good job. But that's not what everyone's hoping for. And that's one, the thing with Andy Ludwig is his floor was higher than Tommy Rees's floor, right? Not maybe Tommy Rees's ceiling was higher than Andy Ludwig, but like the floor for like guaranteed they were going to be a top 20 offense with Andy Ludwig. Could they have been more because he had been working with better talent? Maybe, but we don't know, right? Jared Parker, it's all unknown, right? But all you know is if Notre Dame is like the 40th ranked offense, then it didn't work out for anyone, right? Because they don't have the 40th ranked talent. They have better talent. They have talent where if you compare them to most of the teams that they play, they have better talent than like the majority of the teams they play. And even if you look at like say USC, they should put it on USC, like how Utah put it on USC, right? So, so that's how you kind of tell what it worked out, because the defense, they can't be carried. You can't be carried by the defense in today's college football. You just can't. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way anymore. It doesn't work that way. And if you do that, it can only get you to a certain level. You hit your head on the ceiling, right? So you need to have an offense that is, at a certain level to be able to, reach the kind of win the amount of games that you're going to get to, that you're trying to hope for, that you get to a situation where, the CFP is like an expectation, right? And that's kind of, and anything less than that for the next OC is a disappointment.
Yeah. The thing with Ludwig that would be like a huge concern with Parker. So let's say Parker, they let's say they hire Parker, right? He has a top, let's say he's 20th in F+. Okay, OF+, right? With Sam Hartman and all this other stuff. You don't know how he's going to handle someone like Tyler Buchner, like going forward, because you're not going to get rid of him. If he goes 20th and OF+, he's going to stay, right? He's still going to be the OC, right? You don't know how he's going to handle Tyler Buchner. You don't know how he's going to handle the quarterbacks that they recruited, right? Like there's a level of uncertainty there.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
There's a ton, right? So you're almost locking yourself into a situation where the uncertainty doesn't go away. With Ludwig, like I was watching all his stuff and I was like, I don't really know how this will work with Hartman. I assume it'll be good, but Tyler Buchner would cook in this offense. Like that was like, I thought that was a really good offense for Tyler Buchner. So like moving forward, it was multiple years of like, I really think this could work out for like kind of everyone on Notre Dame's roster. And that's the problem. Right. And it's so like that would be like an ongoing concern with Parker. You could never feel like totally comfortable with where it was.
Yeah. Well, you would only feel that good if they took off this year. That's how you would do it. All of a sudden you're like,
yeah,
well, Notre Dame had the 7th ranked offense in the country this year. You'd be like, well, I guess Parker was a pretty damn good hire, right? Like that's how you'd view it. The reason I think Hartman would have done good is because Cam Rising, I think, was terrible. I think he was not good. He was he was bad. And I think Tyler Huntley, who I thought was pretty good, but Cam Rising, I was kind of shocked actually when I watched
at the decisions and stuff, like the
accuracy, just horrible ball placement, consistently, just a horrible deep ball thrower, and then it made me think, I'm like, well, no wonder they weren't explosive down the field.
Right.
This guy can't throw 15 yards down the field.
What game was it where I was like, they were playing Oregon and they came out throwing and I was like, oh man, Rising's killing them. And then they pivoted.
Yeah.
After like the second possession, third possession, they pivoted and all of a sudden they just were running right at him and they just could not stop them. I mean, there were a lot of things. So upset. Like there were so many games. I almost made all these videos too, Jamie, where it was like this is some good stuff, man. Like this is some really good stuff. Honestly, I think he's a rich man's Drew Pine, actually, in a lot of ways. Just because of the playmaking aspect with his legs. Like he did a lot of things where it was like Drew Pine.
Yeah, he's to me, he was a poor man's Ian Book. Because he was like a guy who did created a lot with his legs, but like Ian Book was actually like a much more accurate thrower than him. But like in saying that, he was a 65% passer. And I think it was because there's a lot of like easy throws So I think like easily Hartman could have been a side. I mean, but who cares? Whatever. It's done. He's there, and they're not going to play in that system. So
They're not going to
yeah.
play in that system. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I don't know where they're going, like you said. And someone else asked the question, like, could they revive it somehow? I guess.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying I think it's non-zero, but it's pretty close to zero, right?
The more minutes that go on,
The more minutes that go on. The only thing
it would have to be like all of a sudden just happen right now. Like
the only thing I would say is if the admin just misjudged the backlash of.
Well, I think they definitely misjudged the backlash. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I didn't think they expected
okay. Do you think if they knew how it would go, they would do something different?
No, I don't think so. I think they just would. I think they would have. What they would have done is they would have leaked something else, or they would have got him to say he turned it down. That's what they would have done. That he wanted to stay with his family and whatever. That's the way they would have put it. I think they would have tried to spin it like that before it got out. Yeah.
None of those are good options. Because I feel like that would have been just as egg on the face as well. Like it would have been egg on the face, I guess, for Freeman more than the admin. It's almost better.
Which is probably why they didn't do it, because they were like, that makes it even look, yeah.
Yeah, it's like egg on the face. And Freeman was probably like, no.
But it's not like he would be the first coach who changed his mind, right? Like that.
You mean Ludwig?
Yeah, that happens a lot, right? Where coaches are like, yeah, and then they're like, go home, and they're like, no, or whatever, right? Like, it's so funny. It's funny because I think like it was like the Salt Lake Tribune, and I'm not trying to like, rip on the guy or anything like that. He probably does a pretty decent job or whatever, but I saw he was like, no, decision's not going to be made until he gets a chance to talk to Kyle Whittingham face to face. And I was like, bro, he was at the hockey game. Like, he made his choice. Like, and obviously and he did make his choice. It just, then the choice got made for him because of the money, right? But like, I mean, if it was about a face-to-face meeting with Whittingham, then I think it would have been handled a lot differently. I don't think he would have went to Notre Dame first if that was the case.
Yeah. This whole day I've been trying to think of like who can salvage this. Like, Matt wants to talk about Jason Brown.
I've got no thoughts on Jason Brown. I don't. Matt, get out of here, man.
Matt's happy because the Cincinnati DC is staying with the Bengals.
Well, that we can say whatever, like that kind of just to flip it to something else. Like that probably means
good. Al Golden's
going to stay. So I mean, in terms of work wise, that's a lot less work for us. Appreciate that. And I will say that I do want to see Notre Dame play in the same system 2 years in a row. I want them to for the first time in a while, defense,
for sure.
So I think that's going to help them. And I'm kind of excited to see, what kind of steps they can take with Golden this year, because I do think that they have a chance to be, they need some young guys to step up, but I think they have a chance to be better this year, like quite a bit better, right? Even after losing Foskey and stuff too, I still think they have a chance to be better.
It is funny because it's like he was gonna if the Lou and the Cincinnati I know how to say his name and I messed it up. The Cincinnati Bengal defensive coordinator. If he got hired, Al Golden would have been an NFL defensive coordinator. And it's like we're all just so we get this question: are we happy about this? Like, he was going to be a NFL defensive coordinator, and we're asking if we're happy about it. You know what I mean? Like the vibes on Al Golden are pretty funny given that. Patrick Carter with the comment of the day. God bless you for this. Kyle Hamilton could salvage this. You know what? I want to hear his ideas. He's on campus right now. He's on campus
He's getting his degree.
You know, so he fits that bill, right? He'll have his degree, and I think that's probably a prerequisite for being the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. I'd like to hear his ideas. I'd like to hear how he would attack things, and I like that. So I'm gonna say thank you to Patrick for that. That's a beautiful comment. Zach Davis says we always wanted Kyle Hamilton offense, absolutely, and no one else did, and everyone else was wrong. But I can't think of anyone who it's like who is likely. Eric Bieniemy, I guess C-Mac says. Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, he's not the guy deserves a head coaching job. He's going to be the OC at Notre Dame. What? No, C-Mac.
I give him a call. Give him a call. By the way, it looks like Brian Johnson probably will be the OC at for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he doesn't want to be Notre Dame's OC, which is unfortunate. Kevin Johns. Xander Cruz is bringing up Kevin Johns. Who is Kevin Johns?
He's the Duke OC.
Right. Okay.
I mean, they did all right last year. I mean, I didn't think he was like amazing or anything. I honestly, I haven't watched a lot of it. If Kevin Johns gets the job, I'll watch a lot of Duke. But until Kevin Johns becomes a serious guy, I'm not going to watch a ton of them. He never had numbers at the places that he was at that made me think I'm like, oh yeah, this guy. It was sold. Like I would have been sold on him. Paul Chris would be a horrible hire, Matthew Peterson. That just would not be.
Don't.
That would be a bad. Like I just whatever. I kind of went into it on another thing, but just like if they ran a 4-4, Notre Dame ran a 4-4 against Paul Chris' offense. That's like the opposite of the way things are going.
Yeah. Let's see. Irish guy says Willie Korn.
He's Coastal Carolina. I mean, I don't think they're going to run Coastal Carolina system, so I don't think he'd be a fit. Plus, he's a guy from the South, and I don't know if he would be a culture fit. I mean, I don't know. Like we don't have no idea. No idea with these guys. So I know everyone's throwing out
David Shaw. He's available. David Shaw.
Yeah, you know what? We'll throw up a bunch of 50-50 balls, and yeah, there you go.
So Alex Atkins and Michael Newbert. Here's the thing with Alex Atkins, right?
He's got a big promotion, got a big brace.
Got a big promotion, right? So that buyout's probably too much. And the other part, too, is he's an O-line guy, and Mike Norvell is a quarterback guy, right? He doesn't have
Mike
that.
Norvell's still running that offense. That's why Kenny Dillingham left.
Yeah.
He's the OC, but in name, like Mike Norvell calls the plays. So you're asking a lot from there. Yeah. So
Jeffrey Wong's bringing up Lindgren. I liked him. He was never connected. Is the thing.
Never connected, but
I would be fine with that. Yeah, if they went with him, I would be good with it. It would be fine, but he was never, for whatever reason, he was never connected. Patrick, we talked about Grimes earlier. I'm
aware, C-Mac, that Bieniemy never called plays in KC. So why do you want him for ND? You're always throwing out these wild things, C-Mac. I mean, you're the wildest guy in this comments section week after week, man. I think there's no way like he deserves a chance to call plays in the NFL. If that's the case too, he's not coming back to college football. It's like not a thing.
Harsin, no, that is a no.
No way. No.
Yeah.
No way.
That is a no. I mean, that's the problem, right? Like you just don't. Scott Frost, yeah, he's
no. He's a no.
He's a no.
He's a no. He's got most of the guys when you're like no, they have skeletons that would not make them an option for Notre Dame.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think Lindgren would be good. I think I would be excited for that. I'm not watching tape until he's wearing a Notre Dame uniform or Notre Dame, like he's at the press conference, basically. The same thing. Zach Davis says, hire me. I'm available. Right. So I'm running play action 75% of the time. Right. Verts.
Heavy RPO.
Mills concept, RPO, dual, all that stuff. Right. That's all I'm doing. Right. Verts. And I'm playing and I'm looking at defensive players too. Joe Moorhead. Notre Dame never called him. Not interested. It just wasn't going to happen. And he also just got a raise.
Re-upped at Akron.
Yep. So that's that. All right, we're just going over names. Let me see. Matthew Peterson says, "Is it fair to say they are more or less looking for a young, up and coming, perhaps obscure OC quarterback coach? Not quite young, up and coming, since Ludwig was 58, but they definitely want an OC quarterback coach." I mean, that's all they've looked at, right? So
seems like it. In general, that's what you're. That's what most people do. And and like Greg said too earlier, it's if Freeman was a quarterback guy, then I think it changes. Like how Norvell is the OC play caller. Well, Atkins can be his O-line OC because he's the play caller. Yeah. And it's a different dynamic, right? So
the Ole Miss OC is Charlie Weiss Jr.
Yeah,
that would be tough.
Probably a tough situation. I
honestly bet you he wouldn't even want it.
I don't think he'd want to come to Notre Dame, and I think a lot of people were pretty mean to him when he was a kid. He was a kid, so
probably doesn't help.
That probably doesn't help it.
Doesn't help. We talked about Josh Parando. We talked about Andy Ketelnicki. We would take, but we had some of the same problems, right? He's OC, offensive line guy, need a quarterback guy, and all those other things. Jason Candle, for whatever reason, he didn't go to Miami. Miami just hired an OC, the Houston offensive coordinator. So I think that would be a good thing. For whatever reason, I think he was someone that Notre Dame wanted or would have talked to, and it didn't work out. So I feel like he's happy to stay at Toledo at this point. Matt says, Matt Canada.
Hire him, and then my Steelers don't have him anymore. Let's do it.
So let's hire someone who Jamie.
I actually think Matt Canada is gets kind of raw deal, and I think he is a good college coordinator, by the way.
Good college coordinator. Maybe we can bring back Kenny.
I heard he hates recruiting though, so that's
good. Yeah, that'll fit with with Marcus Freeman. All right, we're just throwing out names, so we're gonna leave it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You're gonna want to stay locked in to Irish Sports Daily Hit and Hustle YouTube page. Hit the like, hit subscribe button because there's gonna be more. Matt must be drunk. ND for life. I doubt that's very much true. He's just trolling the chat for some reason. I'll probably just block him next time. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hit the like, hit subscribe button. We'll be back on Thursday at least to talk about more developments and that sort of thing. Hopefully there will be some. I gotta imagine things are gonna move a little bit quickly here.
I would hope so.
They've got to get someone in.
There's got to be something by the weekend that we.
Yeah, they've got to get something in just to practically speaking. Clock's ticking. All right, guys, thank you so much. Hit the like, hit subscribe button. Stay tuned in to irishsportsdaily.com, and we will talk to you probably not same time, Joe Bro. We'll probably be back at regular time on Thursday at 11:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Pacific. All right, thank you everyone. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you at least on Thursday.